Welcome to this event as part of Off the Shelf Festival. It's the 30th edition of the festival, which is really fantastic, and I hope you're coming to many more brilliant events as part of this year's programme. My name is Hannah Trevarthen, and I am Events and Partnerships Manager at English Pen, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this Dear Sister event, which is part of our centenary project, Common Currency. Common Currency takes its name from the Penn Charter, which says that literature is a common currency between nations and people, and we're really delighted that this project has been in partnership with Off the Shelf and has brought together an extraordinary group of women from the Sheffield City region to share their experiences and to write new work. The project was inspired, in fact, by our founder, Catherine Amy Dawson-Scott, who was an inspirational woman and brought many writers together to share ideas, experiences and writing practice. She was sadly slightly overshadowed by her male contemporaries, H.G. Wells and John Galsworthy, but we like to honour her in this, our centenary year. In case the Arts Council is here, thank you very much for the funding for this project. This project wouldn't be possible without a National Lottery project grant, so thank you very much for the funds. As a bit of background, Dear Sister was a series of workshops led by an Italian-Somali writer, Uba Cristina Ali Farah, who worked with the participants on writing a letter about inspirational women who were or are part of their lives. A little bit of word on the format. We're going to have a short video from Uba in just a moment. The participants from the project are going to read the work that they created as part of the workshops, and then we'll be having readings from 3 writers that we commissioned who are from Sheffield, who wrote in response to a letter that Uba wrote as part of the project. So as a sort of chain letter, if you will, of letter after letter after letter, or poems. After the video from Uba, the participants are going to come up one after the other, and they'll introduce the person that is reading after them to kind of make sure that it flows as well as possible. So please can you give a round of applause for Rachel, Amy, Yvonne, Elaine and Kylie, who are all reading, and to welcome them to this event. Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Uba Cristina Ali Farah, and I am a Somali-Italian writer and poet and playwright, and I live in Brussels now. I grew up in Somalia and lived for several years in Italy, but now I have been based in Brussels for 9 years, I think. And I was involved in this wonderful project, Dear Sister, because I think that one of the main reasons is that womanhood and relations have always been something that was at the core of my writing somehow. The diaspora, the relationship with women in the diasporic world, and also in a post-colonial world. And I write in Italian, so it's a minor language, and but I grew up in Somalia, so I was very happy and somehow surprised, and I think that it was very wonderful to be involved in this project, because as I'm going to say to all the participants in the letter, I always thought that language is something that is not a barrier somehow. Growing up bilingual, I understood that in the language there are so many things, and we can share emotions and feelings, and the power of translation as well. So I was very happy to be involved in this project. I think that this experience has been wonderful, and and I wrote this letter. It's very short, but it's my tribute to all the participants. And can I read it now? Yes, I'm going to read it. Dear sisters, I am so sorry for not being able to join you all in this celebratory day. Our experience together has been so powerful and nurturing. We were able to share an intimate and safe space during the pandemic, which is something really exceptional and magic. I learned a lot of things from you. For instance, that language, age, and culture are not a barrier, and we can always connect through our stories because the alphabet that we use is an universal one, the alphabet of relations, trust, and emotions. I believe I grew differently after every single meeting with you. The Jenny, Alan Moore, to Warda Yassin, thank you for the responses to my letter. With your wonderful poems. They are each different from each other, and they were so important for me to read these poems. It was wonderful. In my letter, I wanted to celebrate a wonderful Somali actress, poet, and activist whose name is Saada Ali Wassame, who have been horribly murdered in Mogadishu, where she returned after decades of exile. It's not explicit in my letter, but I think that the reference is to her. I call her with a different name, and she was an example and an icon for many women like me. But I think that she is also a universal icon because we have so many stories of women that they paid their life with their freedom and their choices. And for instance, she gave birth to her daughter while she was in prison during the Siad Barre regime. And she called this daughter Hurriya, which in Somali means freedom. And I also want to mention and to say thank you. I'm really sorry that we cannot meet in person, but I think that we will have other opportunities. To Amanda, Amy, Elaine, Emily, Emma, Joanna, Julie, Kylie, Najma, Rachel, Sam, Yvonne, for sharing this journey together. It has been wonderful for me, really, because I think that writers, and when we write, we are not isolated at all. We need other people feedback. We need other stories. We need to share our stories, and so I don't know. We have another kind of awareness when we are able to say our stories. And I say that even being a professional writer, I don't think that I will be what I am without all the people that had this generosity and this freedom and give me the opportunity to tell my story every time in a different way and to share their story with me, to find this kind of connection that we have together and to see what something is more important than another thing. So thank you. And again, I apologize not being there with you.
I'm reading my letter to my great-great-aunt Olive. Dear Olive, I wore a necklace to graduation. We weren't allowed jewellery at the ceremony, but I wore it anyway, the chain hidden under the fur hood. It felt right somehow, in some inexplicable, ineffable way, in the vaulted echoing hall, black and white floors, black gowns, white shirts, and a secret incandescent flash of blue lightning tucked away where nobody could see. Here is everything I know about the past. It is bigger than you can fathom, more painful than you can face, and every fragment of it is opals and scrap metal. You were born 97 years before me, on a bright October day. I don't know what day you were born exactly or what the weather was actually like, but I like to think it was something like 9, unseasonably warm and bright. The day I turned 18, 115 Octobers later, your niece, my grandma, gave me a necklace. She's given me a lot over the years: how to make Christmas pudding, how to use a sewing machine, more book recommendations than I can count. But this was different. It didn't look like this when it belonged to you. I only saw it once before, 3 brilliant opals set in a burnished gold ring. Apparently it's bad luck to wear opals if they're not your birthstone. The same isn't true of other birthstones. This is a peculiar inheritance of the autumn born. They were once thought to be lucky. Did you know that? Girls would wear them in their hair to preserve their beauty or to grant keen sight. And then somewhere along the winding cobblestone road of myth and memory, opals became witches' stones, the ethereal lightning caught in the depths, too eerie to be anything else. I don't know if I believe it. You believed, at least, waiting almost a century for another to be born in our family in October. I can't wear rings. I'm too clumsy, they slip off my fingers and get caught in things. I'm constantly terrified of losing them. So my grandma had it made into a necklace instead, picking out the design herself, a thin forked silver chain with each pendant ending in an opal. You'd never know now that it had been anything else. How carelessly is our history discarded, scrap metal memories cast aside, inconvenient, superfluous. How quickly we forget. Take what is useful, beautiful, can be made to fit, leave the rest behind. I hope you don't mind. I hope you'd like it. I don't have any way to know. I asked my mum, your great niece, about you, and she told me that you'd never married because of all the young men lost to the war. You were a midwife at the hospital I've walked past the shell of 1,000 times without ever knowing. You liked to knit. You made swimming costumes for my grandmother and her sisters. I like to knit too, though I think I'll leave the swimming costumes to you. Once we run out of questions, we'll run out of history. There are so many things that I want to ask you about watching a world war come and go before you are the age I am now, with another looming just over the horizon. About coming of age as women's right to vote did. About your career fighting for every advancement. The music you liked and your favourite books and what you did for fun. The little things, the things that don't get woven into the grand tapestry of hindsight and nostalgia that we call history. And I'd ask you about your ring too. I don't know where it came from. Was it a gift from a friend or your brother, my great-great-grandfather? Did you pick it out yourself? Was it an impulse, the colour catching your eye while you were in the shop? Or did you save up carefully, going back to check it was still there? Was it a special occasion ring? Worn only on particular days for particular reasons? Or did you not care about that, wearing it every day because it made you smile to watch it catch the light? The only rings I'll leave for my great-great-nieces are the ones on the table when I put a mug down when I'm distracted and forget to get a coaster. From what I've heard, you'd have disapproved of that. Maybe one day my great-great-niece will wrap the chain 3 or 4 times around her wrist and call it a bracelet. Maybe nobody will have thought to tell her the story of where it came from. Maybe she'll be asking these questions of me. There will always be more questions than answers. Somebody has to ask them anyway. I keep asking. I'm weaving together my history, and as the opals click together on their silver chains, my ears are filled with the click-clack-click of knitting needles. And here is everything I know about the future. It is at once too far away to glimpse over the horizon, and so close it suffocates, and one day too it will be opals and scrap metal. Thank you.
I might get emotional, so I'll just apologise in advance. I just want to show you this picture of the sister that I wrote about. This letter was written in honour of Naomi Colcom, an incredibly inspiring fellow sister who was tragically killed at the age of 28 in a hit-and-run accident in Sheffield in October 2018. I had the privilege of working with and becoming friends with Naomi and saw what a genuine, caring, unique individual she was. She believed that you don't have to do big things to make a difference. You just have to care enough to inspire change and make the world a better place, one person at a time. Her memory and ethos are captured in the creation of Naomi's Corner in Kelham Island, a community initiative dedicated to her cause. And I hope my words further ripple her message into the world, inspiring you to make changes in your life. And I'm just going to show you a little picture here. It says Lost in Nature, and it's a photo frame, and on Naomi's funeral we pick wildflowers and press them inside, and when I open my curtains each morning I'm reminded. This was written in May 2021. Dear Naomi, lost in nature, this is what I see when I open the curtains each morning. That and your wildflower funerals pressed into their frame. I sometimes think how fitting it is that I know how much you would love to be lost in nature, wandering among a canopy of trees, the dappled sunlight reflecting in your beautiful orange hair. You would thrive there, becoming entirely self-sufficient, living off the land, creating a vegetable garden, growing tomatoes, potatoes, peas, salads and scented herbs, something you had always dreamed of. Or maybe you'd get lost in a rainforest, saving the orangutans, or stopping deforestation in the plantations of palm oil, a cause that was so close to your heart. In recent weeks, the sound of birdsong fills the air, and you would probably have begun getting excited about the return of summer festivals and the prospect of travel again. You would have found the last year very strange, not being able to mingle with your friends or talk to strangers or homeless people, giving them your time, food, and money. You taught us so much in your brief life: your kindness, your passions, your insecurities, your caring, your sincerity. I think that's the thing that stood out most about you, your sincerity. You were doing all these things because you genuinely cared. You had a persuasive, non-judgmental manner that was firm in your convictions. And like a drop in the ocean, you wanted to change the world one person at a time, believing in a collective force of hope. You continued to be a force of change even after you died, influencing us to give up meat, give to food banks, check labels for palm oil, go litter picking, attend climate strikes, and stop to talk to the homeless to find out what they really needed. All these things you taught us to make a difference, no matter how small, recognizing that our actions have a ripple effect and influence others, sometimes in ways that we will never know. We often talk about you, and I still feel a sorrow like a stone in my heart every time I visit Kerber Edge, where we were told the tragic news of your death. The rocks still echo with sadness, yet the natural world is still where I turn to in times of much needed solace. There is a calmness there that penetrates the skin. In some ancient belief systems, they say that there is an invisible thread that joins all beings on earth, and that our lives are interdependent and everything we do influences something else. These tribes also believe that Mother Nature is woven into the very fabric of our being, that we hold the secrets of the past in our bones, its passions in our blood. I wonder if this is why sometimes when you visit a place, it feels like home, even if you've never been there before. Or maybe occasionally when you meet someone, it feels like you've known them all your life, a kindred spirit like you. I often wonder if this is why I find myself echoing in the past, reliving moments that I know you experienced, moments of sadness, joy, hope, and pain. I wonder how much of my present way of life has been influenced by you and all the other noble sisters before you. As sisters, we all endure some sort of hardship, be it from sexual oppression, injustice in society, or merely by being considered the weaker sex. These are our stories passed from one generation to the next, the narratives we carry. And yet every day the world turns and we see change, progress, even this pandemic showing us a different way to live. We don't have to carry the hardships of the past. Instead, we can learn from them, change our narrative, be willing to change the norm, find some sort of hope and learn to respect the natural world and each other, to stand against societal expectations, change the way we live. It doesn't have to be big. You knew all those small changes each and every one of us do can add up. We don't have to feel hopeless because collectively we can actually make a big difference. This was your message, but you were snatched away too young, too soon, too painfully. So it's up to your sisters to tell your stories now. They are etched into our memories like tattooed ink. We can fill the room with your fondness when we recall your kindness, your determination, your courage. We can share your messages from the grave, and your energy can flow through us all like a waterfall, touching everything in its path, forceful, mesmerizing, shaping a better future. There is still so much sadness from those who loved you so dearly, but so much yet to learn from your example, to lay ourselves open to the love and hope that this world has to offer, and live out the lessons that you left us holding like precious treasure. Love, Rachel. You all now, I can't see before. I'm going to introduce Yvonne, another sister who I know has written about her mum.
I've written about my mum. It was quite an emotional journey. I'm just going to read a short extract of what I've written. Dear Mama Sunshine, I smiled as I stepped onto the front steps of the big veranda. I watched you unravel the bunch of keys from your pockets towards the front door. You have still maintained a very strict regime with security of your home. Doors always locked, no one enter without you giving them access. You do not appear to be as strong as you used to be. You walk with a limp as the arthritis seems to cripple your knees, and you moan about the pain and the difficulty of getting up after a long sitting down. As I waited at the door, it felt like I've been here for 5 years as you described the pain. Oh, my knees, the bad pain. I rub them with all the ointment, but them still bad, especially when the rain set. I tried to understand your pain as you finally opened the door and our eyes met for the first time after 4 years and 358 days. The pain that aged you, but I'm here to help you. You allowed me to make something out of nothing, in times when my cupboards were naked, and my table only bare the cloth that boasts the beautiful colors of an island where I once lived far, far away. Farming was a job, a survival for you to maintain a balanced diet for your 5 children. Dishes to whet our appetite, built our bones, and gave us some awesome time at the dinner table to rejoice and divulge in your tasty homemade meals. You cared with a big heart, sometimes an empty purse, but fed us with the love from the labor of your dutiful fingers and sweat from your dyed hair that would often stream down your forehead. You would wipe away instantly as anyone approached who visit unexpectedly. You were my role model, mentor, my big sister, and many times challenged into becoming me, to satisfy you in achieving your standards, but often disappointed you. You cried my tears and realized my fears. You cared and protected me. I remembered your dainty smile and dimples. You were always near me, and you will always be there for me, even though you're gone. A picture, a garment, or moments when I lay my head to rest. You are often in my dreams. You laughing and sharing stories of the things I missed and the families who have migrated. Your letters will always arrive like a bang on the door. I always hesitated before opening. Composed myself after a nervous cry, heart throbbing and my fingers shaking like a leaf. I pictured your smile, but heard your cry, and I dread to read the contents. I nervously open and read with closed eyes as if I imagine every word that was written, and travel thousands of miles to bring me sadness or happiness. Your letters always bring home to me. Like a book with many chapters that allowed me to reconnect and enjoy a journey away from the cold, wet and snowy hills of Yorkshire. They took me across the sea and brought me to the glorious sunshine, exotic food and vibrant neighborhood, a land rich beyond the skies where I shall return in my old age. You were weak, yet strong, no bitterness. I still hear your prayers, the words that echoes in the rooms as you cry out to the Lord to protect each other. A prayer to be good and not to render evil for evil. Thank you. me introduce you to Elaine.
Hi. First of all, I'm going to say it's nice that you're dressed in yellow, because I know her mother's, the dress she has was a yellow dress of her mum's, and that's why she's in yellow today. I've written a short piece to my sister, and it's in memory, not in memory, my mum's still alive, but it's about my mum, and I think it's just to remember the longevity of my family in Britain and how we've been here for a very, very long time. And just about my mum, really. So it's a very short piece. So it starts, even though you were younger than me, I never felt you were any less than I was. You always had a strong personality and a belief in yourself. From a very young age, you knew you wanted to be a vicar. My destiny was less straightforward. I know you love listening to Mum's stories about the past and the strong women who have influenced our lives. We both have had the benefits of the verbal history which has been passed down in our family. I do not know where her strong sense of identity came from, and I don't remember our grandma or great-grandma ever saying so much. That said, they were strong women in their own right, and as great-grandma had moved from Harrogate to Hull, then to Liverpool in the 1900s, I am sure at the turn of the century that was quite a big thing. The historical family has been something you have cherished, as you have often told me how important it is to you. It has helped us find our place in a society which can sometimes be unwelcoming. Their names from history are something you said one day you will explore. The Ingalls, the Stevensons, and the Mortons from my West African side. You've grown up hearing the names and stories as I've heard. You were always said one day you would write a book. I think you could do it too. You're a good writer, better than I am, and you would be able to focus on the important things we've heard. Do you remember all her stories about growing up as a black child in Liverpool? How at school the teacher would not educate her. There were a few other black children in her class in 1933. How she was made the milk monitor and the special person who was tidy up the playground during lesson time. It all meant she was not taught anything. So when it came to doing class tests, she wasn't sure why the other children knew all the answers and she didn't. We also learnt of the experiences during the war, how she was evacuated to Chester first and separated from her brothers. She was given the loft bedroom and told she was not dressed properly for church. So on the first Sunday, she was locked into her bedroom while the family went out to praise their Lord, while leaving a child of 11 locked away. What would Jesus have thought of that? They probably would not even have thought about the child they had been given to look after. On the first day, she was also told she had to use the toilet in the street, as they didn't want her to use theirs. This information caused her to become extremely traumatized, and she cried for days and days, and they realized that this placement was not working. Eventually, she was taken to the same house as her brothers in a different part of town in Wales. And here, her experience was made one of the happiest memories of her life. Do you remember, she said, they ran to school every day, sometimes on the beach and through the woods, always waiting for the younger brother to catch up. Her life then was a happy one. She said there was not any racist or problems from any local people in Wales. They just accepted as evacuee children. The host made the family and made sure the family and the 3 children were all kept safe. and she had an idyllic childhood in Wales. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Kylie next.
Okay, so my letter is about my friend Lyra McKee, who was a journalist who was shot dead by the dissident group on Good Friday 2019. So this is the letter. Dear Lyra, it's happiness that's worse. This is new. It is when I am the happiest that I ache for you the most. I long to hear your laugh, to gossip with you over a hot chocolate in the Clements in Belfast city centre. Your Auntie Lyra looks after you. I long to meet you again in London, both stressed and happy. Finally, your career is coming together. You have signed books to Faber and Faber. Neither of us like studied English at Queen's much. We found the lectures largely snobby and dull. We were impatient always, impatient to get to the heart, to the truth of a story. Our minds not suited to long drawn out academic study. I endured and you quit. You always seemed braver. You helped me become braver. I wouldn't still be writing if it weren't for you. I almost failed my postgraduate degree in journalism. I was incredibly homesick. After the high of getting a fancy scholarship and of moving to England, life became such a struggle. I was getting poor marks. I lived in a house that didn't feel safe. I felt my Irishness in full for the first time. I felt my difference. My first boyfriend that lasted 3 months. I do not belong. I cannot be right in the ways which matter. I don't remember how exactly we connected. It must have been via Twitter. But I remember vividly the first day we met. I was working part-time in a call centre and part-time in a CRR gig at Windsor Stadium. I was living off about £800 a month. I was trying to keep writing to freelance, but I wanted to quit. My confidence had been shattered by my year in England. You were adamant that I would do no such thing. Kylie, you have something special. The Guardian seen it, they gave you a scholarship. You don't get that for nothing. You just need to find your own path. I had done some shifts at the Belfast Telegraph, but suddenly was dropped. I had an interview to be a reporter for a newspaper in a tiny unionist town. I didn't get the job. Writing about abortion and gay rights probably didn't help. I listened to you and started to aim higher. The Guardian opinion column I got published while still working at the call centre. I'm moving to London to work in marketing for a charity a month after. Lyra, you did not let me settle, did not let me waste my talent. You showed me that I could be brilliant, even if I didn't fit the typical mould of a journalist. I still have the scarf you described as Harry Potter. I bought it on Black Friday 2017 in H&M. I thought the yellow and red, beautiful autumnal colours. I was horrified when in excitement you exclaimed, "Oh, you like Harry Potter too?" The colours of Gryffindor. I had liked Harry Potter as a child, and I was secretly proud that the Sorting Hat had placed me in Gryffindor, meaning brave and foolish. That captures my life. Perhaps if you were still alive, I would have given the scarf to a charity shop. I might have given it to my niece to wrap a doll or teddy in. I might have given it to my dad to wrap a little lamb in. As things are, and it has taken me some time to accept this, you are not alive, so I still wear my Harry Potter scarf, now bobbled and worn. I smile every winter when I drape its familiar warmth around my neck. It is my best link to my memories of you. In a few weeks I will go on a date with a woman. You're one of the first few people I came out to. Then I thought I was bi, now I know I'm gay. What would you make of this? I know we would have had a lot to laugh about. I've been messaging this woman for 7 months and I really like her. I will wear my Harry Potter scarf and remember my Aries, lesbian, brave journalist friend. These are all true for me too. And although I cannot understand it, wish it weren't so, I will live my life as fully and bravely as you did, as you taught me to.
Thank you very much for coming to this event. I'm Maria D'Souza and I'm one of the organisers of the Off the Shelf Festival. And I have to say it's been an absolute privilege to have met these different women and worked with them for this. As you can hear, it's been very emotional. It's been an incredible experience. It was during the pandemic. We were doing the workshops by Zoom with Uber, and it's such a shame she can't be here today. but it was nice to hear her words, and she's also written a beautiful piece which we will have on our website. And it's also been marvellous to work with English Pen and with Hannah, and the work that they do is so important in giving a voice and supporting writers. And also I feel these women, we've given all of them a voice, and there's others who took part in the workshop that are not here today, so I thank them too, but especially I do thank Amy, Rachel, Yvonne, Elaine and Kylie, who've been brave and come and been at a festival and spoken here today with their wonderful words, their powerful words. So that's been a real privilege. So thank you for that. As part of the project, we have also commissioned 3 writers from Sheffield to create a piece in response to Ulla's piece, Dear Sister. And I'm really delighted that they are all here and they're going to share their words with you too. So the first one is Debjani Chatterjee. We've known Debjani a long time, and she's read it off the shelf many times. She's an award-winning poet, a children's writer and translator, more than 60 books in fact. Her acclaimed anthologies include Let's Celebrate, festival poems from around the world, and A Slice of Sheffield. Her oral history books include Who Cares? Reminiscences of Yemeni Carers, and she also writes short stories and plays, and her work's been translated into many languages. She's won many prizes, including the Peterloo Poetry Prize, Muse, India's Poetry Translation First Prize, and she had got an MBE in 2008. So I'm really delighted that Debjani's written a piece for us, for Dear Sister, and please welcome her to this stage.
Good afternoon and namaskar. It's a great honor really to take part in this wonderful project. It's a great honor also to have been commissioned as part of the celebration for the 100th year of English Pen. A great honor too that this is 30th anniversary year for Off the Shelf Literature Festival. A literature festival that I've been part of from the very beginning. So it's also wonderful to read with such talented and powerful writers, as we've heard already, and 2 more to come. So the poem I've written is to my sister. My sister's name was Deepa. And Deepa is, well, the word Deepa means lamp. And it's short also for the Deepavali festival, which is sometimes more popularly known as the Diwali festival. So the Deepavali festival, or the Festival of Lights, gets its name from all the lamps that are lit to honor the goddess of abundance. So the Diwali festival is, this year, it's going to be on the 4th of November. And when my sister was born, on that particular year, it was November the 5th. So you can see how she gets the name Deepa, or lamp. So to explain maybe a couple of other words, my grandmother also takes part in this poem, and she was always chewing pan. Now, pan is something that's perhaps unique to the subcontinent of India. I'm not aware of people chewing pan outside it, unless they are people who have come originally from the subcontinent. So pan is a betel leaf, and inside it are various ingredients. But the point is that the betel leaf, and also some of the ingredients, can be slightly, well, intoxicating. So my grandma, my paternal grandma, was forever chewing pan. So she always had a red mouth from the pan. And we all called her Paloma, which means literally good mother. So we children all called her Paloma, but even some of the adults would call her Paloma, good mother. And the Diwali festival is also called Kali Puja, particularly in the part of India that I come from. So Kali Puja, or the worship of Kali, or the festival of Kali. Kali is the goddess, the black goddess, who destroys evil. And there have been wonderful poems written to Kali, devotional poems, which describes her beauty, and her beauty in her darkness, which is, shattering all the darkness and gloom of the world. And it's a blackness which is more brilliant than any light that we can imagine, because of course it is the light of knowledge, the light of love, and so on. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of the background. Deepa. Not another girl, Grandma spluttered, when you leapt bawling into the world. And my, how dark! Barn-chewing Grandma was plain-spoken as ever. Words hurled like machine gun bullets at Mother. Good Mother, ask your son about girls. He wants a dozen of them at least. God's blessing, he calls them precious pearls. This Kali Puja day, we honor the goddess who banishes the night of ignorance with her effulgence, bringing Diwali's shower of light. In a dark world, Lord Buddha asked us to be our own lamps to light the way. Born on this auspicious day of light, my child's brilliance will never stray. So, I will name this daughter Deepa. Grandma liked the spirited defense. But then you opened your old soul eyes. Your gaze was a bright jade radiance. The greenest eyes she had ever seen. A changeling child, she screamed, retreating. Deepa, only sister and best friend, you light our home, you give life meaning. Thank you. I think the memory of Deepa still lights up our home. She died in her early 30s, leaving 2 boys for my parents to bring up. And they are grown up now, and they're a real credit to the family. Okay, thank you, everyone. Namaskar again.
Thank you, Dad Charlie. And my dad also used to like chewing palm, so I remember that. I'm really delighted to welcome the second poet and writer that we've commissioned for Off the Shelf, an English pen, Helen Mort. And again, Helen, we've worked with many times at Off the Shelf. She's an award-winning author based in Sheffield. She's published 2 poetry collections, Division Street and No Map Could Show Them, a debut novel, Black Car Burning, a short story collection. She's been shortlisted for the T.S. Eliot Prize and Costa Prize, and won the Fenton Walder Bird Prize in 2015. And Helen teaches creative writing. She's taught for over 10 years and is a senior lecturer at Manchester Metropolitan University. And she's also a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. So please, can I ask you to give a very warm welcome to Helen Ward.
Thank you so much for coming. I honestly don't think I've ever been to an event quite like this. The letters which you all shared at the beginning were absolutely heart-stoppingly brilliant, and I'm full of admiration for everyone who's read, and it's so wonderful to share a stage as well with Debjani and with Warder, and also to look out into the audience and see. So I'm an only child, I haven't got any brothers or sisters, but this project's been very special, and the idea of sisterhood and of dear sister. And I can see so many people in the audience who are sisters to me in the poetry world and the literary world and sort of beyond. I really can. And just people that would be if I knew them. I just don't know you yet. So yeah, I thought I would responding to this project and to the idea of Dear Sister, I thought I'd try and write some adaptations. I'm stealing this term from Debjani from when we were talking before, adaptations of a ghazal or a ghazal, depending on how you pronounce it, which is a form that I chose that form because so I remember somebody once telling me or describing the form of the ghazal as being like each couplet is very self-contained but also goes together, sort of like beads on a necklace. And I thought that was quite a nice metaphor for what we were all doing with these letters and the chain. So I wrote two sort of connected ghazals addressed to different women, and the first one is addressed to or dedicated to a poet that a Sheffield poet who some of you will know, Rachel Bauer, who has been an incredible sister to me, I think, in the and I also linked them both with an object, and this one is a sling, a baby sling, so I called it Sling for Rachel. Red cotton flowing round my shoulders, hips, like blood's bright sister, this wrap that carried your sons and their fearless sister, a ribbon of a gift, umbilical, memory of forceps and my body's flood. In the stone-shaped pool, I cried and called the midwife sister. Even in labour on my knees, I tried so fiercely to be good, likening myself to an imaginary, braver sister. The small hours are not small. I stand as you have surely stood, moonstruck, window lit, wearing new life, midnight sister. My son has petal-textured skin, his body's all branch and bud. On Brincliffe Edge, the winter trees hold hands with their skinny sisters. I am an only child. I dragged my mother through the mud, clamouring, pleading for an impossible sister. Even with the sling untied, your kindness wraps around us snug. How firmly you hold us, keep us meshed together, sister. And the other one, which is even more of an adapted ghazal than the first one, is just called Straighteners. It's for my stepdaughter. I place my black gold tongs outside your room. Your absence is a damp, neglected room. These straighteners mean I don't know what to give you now. I listen to the breathing of your empty room. Inside, drawn blinds, your posters quietly unpeeling. When you aren't here, your father tidies your room. You say, fuck that. Your mirror's a dark frame. Inside it, there's a wild, untouchable room. At 14, I had off-blonde, boring hair. I straightened it each morning in my tiny room. Most days, I feel more teenager than mother, longing to slam the door to my own room. So much of life is rearranging furniture. When I moved in, you had to find more room. Don't take my gift literally. Don't iron yourself out. Force the world's door. Let them all make room. Thank you, and thank you so much to Off the Shelf.
The final poet that we've commissioned, that I'm going to introduce, is Warda Yassin. She's an award-winning British-born Somali poet and secondary school teacher based in Sheffield. She was winner of the 2018 New Poets Prize for her debut pamphlet, Tea with Cardamom, published by the Poetry Business. And it has been published in many places like the North and Magma and in different anthologies, and was one of the 3 poets to have won the Women's Poet Prize 2020 with the Rebecca Swift Foundation. And Warda's very, very busy at the minute. It's wonderful that she's here today. She's currently running the Mixing Roots project for young people of colour with Hive, South Yorkshire. She's working with the Poetry Society and the Canal and Rivers Trust. And they're working with community groups to create a poem that's going to be displayed on a stretch of river between Sheffield and Tinsley. She has performed at many festivals, including, of course, Off the Shelf, and has read with all kinds of other poets, including Jean Binter-Breeze and the current Poet Laureate Simon Armitage. Most recently, we've commissioned Warda to create a sonnet for Sheffield for the walls of Orchard Square Shopping Centre, and that's going to soon be revealed at the end of this month. She's also our current Sheffield Poet Laureate. And Warda represented Dear Sister recently when English Pen had their weekend of celebrations for their 100-year anniversary at the South Bank. Warda went down to London and she read at the South Bank. And I was lucky enough to be there, as was Sarah Unwin, my colleague sitting over there. And it was an absolutely marvellous weekend of events, and Warda absolutely smashed it. She was so fantastic, and it was such an honour to be there and have her representing Sheffield. So, can I ask you to give a very warm welcome to Sheffield's Poet Laureate, Warda Yassin.
Thank you, that was so kind. That was really sweet. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this, Maria, Hannah, Sarah, and everyone at Off the Shelf. I literally feel like I've cried like 4 times in the audience. It's been very emotional. I felt very moved. The way that people have been responding to their chosen sisters, their family sisters, and I don't know, there's just something so beautiful about today that's made it so different than other poetry readings as well, and so it's been such an honour to be here as well. I actually have 4 sisters, and I didn't write this for any of my sisters. I started writing it for my sisters, and then I was so sad because they live in different places, and I was like, I'm gonna write this about Andrea, who does my makeup sometimes for wedding. It's a different kind of sisterhood. I feel that sometimes when we get our hair done or our makeup done, there's like this intimacy in that. She's doing your lip gloss and you're telling her about your broken heart or how sad you are and how you want to leave your job. And I always found that when I spend time with Andrea, I always feel lifted in another way as well, and she's so funny. So this is called When Andrea Comes to Paint Me, and it's not emotional at all. When Andrea Comes to Paint Me. When Andrea comes to paint me, there'll be no daylight lancing through the living room window. Just her demand for the telly on. She can't work in silence. I'll sit there like unhandled clay, waiting for her to soften and sculpt me. Watch her assemble her tools. A satin ring light holding me in its orbit. And then she'll stand back, hourglass the air, and start gassing me up. Like your hair, unreal, your skin, unreal, your figure, unreal. And though I came with a mirror full of complaints, Andrea will be all aquamarine eyelids, ruby rue lips, an island girl with locks silked and set. She's Friday night ready before breakfast. I just sit there, Andrea makes summits out of sparse brows, marvelling as she mixes my skin on the back of her hand. Fenty, MAC, Bobbi Brown, diamond buffing high-rise cheeks. Then she'll stand back again, her thumbs still moulding me. And by the time my lips are lined with sin, she knows someone else has arrived in the little pocket mirror I'm clutching. I peacock the swivel chair, liking the way my eyes flash a dare to Andrea's magic phone camera wand. Unreal, unreal, she riffs. She's my Jamaican alchemist, and she spun this girl into looking bad, as in good bad. And my only Insta pics of the year will be taken tonight. And I feel like the shoulder blades of a slow dance, a sunrise over high tide, a gold cord pulled taut up her spine, and a highway about to be dropped on this city. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful to be here today. Such an honor. Thank you for, you guys were amazing, such beautiful letters. You also, everybody was amazing. I just feel very moved and I'm glad that I came here today, even though I have marking. Thank you.
I was just going to say a huge thanks again to Dejani and Helen and Lauda and all our readers today, Amy, Rachel, Elaine, Yvonne and Kylie, and all the other sisters who took part in the Dear Sister project and not able to be here today, and to Uber as well for being such a wonderful workshop leader. It's been a marvellous project to be part of. Off the Shelf's 30 this year, and I've worked for 29 of those 30 years on Off the Shelf, which has been a privilege. But I don't think I've ever been involved in a project quite like this one, especially in the pandemic, where we all got to know each other on Zoom and slowly started to get to know each other and share. And the work's been so amazing. It's been a wonderful project to be part of, and thank you all so much for being part of it and sharing and reading today. And I don't know if Hannah wants to just say a final word.
I would like to give a big thanks to Maria, because Maria was part of the team that gave me my first ever job in the arts.
We did.
So thank you for your sisterhood. Thank you to all of you for your participation in this project, and thank you for helping to celebrate Penn's centenary year in such a moving way. I feel extremely privileged to have been in the room with you all. Thank you very much.